Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the Professor, and this is the Moment of Truth.
Very disturbing video posted on X causing public outrage shows agents approaching this red SUV as it was blocking the road. You can hear the agents tell the woman to get out of the car and approach the SUV. No! The woman then drives forward. That's when the shots are fired, the car crashing.
I'm not going to say that she's totally innocent because she's possibly could have seen someone in front of her, but I don't think so because she was looking at this way while he was snatching on her car like, hey, this person's in front. I can't see no one in front of me right now. So it could have been on her mistake too, you know. I'm not saying it's totally their fault. I'm saying it's their fault because they shouldn't have had to fire a shot. You shouldn't have to shoot an old lady.
A lot of people are disgusted over this incident, but I think the most disgusting thing of all is how certain politicians like Jacob Frey are all outraged all of a sudden. They suddenly discovered their moral outrage at law enforcement killing someone.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
We've been warning for weeks that the Trump administration's dangerous, sensationalized operations are a threat to our public safety, that someone was going to get hurt, and today that recklessness cost someone their life.
Black people are the majority of victims of police murder, and they weren't behind the wheel of a car. They're usually citizens in the corner store, walking down the street, or even in their own homes. Jacob Frey's never had this kind of energy for any of them, especially not if they were killed at the hands of the thugs in the Minneapolis police. Hell, he was going ahead and backing the badge heavy just last year alone. He wasn't angry when the criminals behind him murdered Jamar Clark. He damn sure wasn't angry when George Floyd was killed. He was telling the public, we need to calm down and everything, let's let the investigation play out. Nah, all of a sudden he's trying to have all of this judgment up front. Now he wants to go ahead and have judgment. He backed the badge when it came to the murder of George Floyd and the killings of other black Minneapolis citizens ever since. If people in Minneapolis are furious, then they can save some of their outrage for this punk. He helped to set the table for all of this. Even after the murder of George Floyd, Frey's been standing by the cops and defying the people of Minneapolis. And now that a white woman is killed by armed thugs from outside Minneapolis, now all of a sudden he wants to get all profane for the cameras. Well, he can spare me. When you give your support to local murders by thugs with badges, don't be surprised when some out-of-towners with badges do the same thing. You better believe that had this woman been black, that same Jacob Frey would be doing what he did with George Floyd, calling for calm. He certainly wouldn't be cursing. Oh, the outrage would be a hell of a lot more muted. In fact, there wouldn't be any outrage at all. It'd just be him going, this is sad, just so sad. But we need to be calm. It's just so sad. Had the victim been black, the white media would be telling you any and every bit of dirt that they could possibly find on this woman. In fact, that's what all the coverage would be. They would be leading with, she had a record, or she was accused of this, or she had some priors on that. That's what they would be leading with if this woman had been black. Jacob Frey and that scumbag behind him, they were strident, just their typically arrogant white supremacist selves when black people were pointing out police murders in Minneapolis. But a white woman's killed, and now we see the phony outrage? Sounds more like jealousy from Jacob Frey than anything else. Because this guy, they're like any local politicians. They get angry whenever somebody else intrudes on their turf. No poaching on my territory. That's what he's really upset about. But if the federal government gave him some money, I bet you he'd be behind them all the way. And this monkey Frey, he's not the only one doing this. You got the rest of the clapping chimpanzees in the white media who've decided that all of a sudden they have some moral outrage at police action all of a sudden. This is the exact same white media who spent year after year, amounting to decade after decade, saying that you can't second guess the police. Why, the police do a dangerous job. When police kill a black person, we get a nonstop litany of any dirt that they can find. They bring on the police to white-splain why you can't question the police. It's all about the training. You don't know what goes through a cop's mind. You can't hold us accountable no matter what we do. That's what the white media does whenever the victim's black. They bring on the cops and let them go ahead and say whatever they want. The white media did that for year on year, but of course they only do that when the victim's black. So why aren't they bringing on the police chiefs now, or every moron with a badge that they can find to white-splain to the public why the police are just using their training? What happened in Minneapolis? That was an issue of police training. If you have any complaints, you should complain about the training. They're just doing what they're trained to do.
Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers. You asked about a shooting that we just had in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was an act of domestic terrorism. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. This goes to show the assaults that our ICE officers and our law enforcement are under every single day.
That's what Kristi Noem said. The discount Temu version of Barbie. She's sitting there recycling that old saw. And yet the same people who were giving it thumbs up just a few years ago, now all of a sudden, we're not so sure. What kind of training is this? Who's going to tell the public that police should follow their training now? All the usual excuses and lies that we've heard are suddenly being dispensed with. Gee, I wonder why. Now, there's been incidents like this before. ICE agents have fired on people and even killed people who they claimed were trying to run them over with their car. Back in July of last year in Black Forest, Colorado, 2 people were the target of a law enforcement operation at a home construction site, and they allegedly attempted to ram their vehicle into ICE officers. An officer fired 3 shots into the vehicle. 2 of the people fled, at least one was later arrested. In September, an ICE agent in Chicago fatally shot a man who tried to evade arrest by driving his car at agents, dragging one of them. ICE identified the man as Silverio Villegas Gonzalez and said he had a history of reckless driving and had entered the country illegally. And speaking of people in the country illegally, in October, federal authorities said a TikTok streamer and illegal alien by the name of Carlitos Ricardo Parias tried to ram his vehicle into theirs while they were trying to arrest him on an immigration warrant. They wound up shooting him in the elbow. This illegal alien had amassed a large following on TikTok, making videos documenting immigration raids. Well, that shows just how confident this guy was that the authorities were never going to come for him. That's how comfortable a lot of these illegal aliens have become. It's like, hey, we'll go ahead and just stand here and we'll video the authorities arresting illegal aliens, but they're not going to come and arrest us. Well, in this case, he was wrong. He was arrested, but fortunately for him, he was in the People's Republic of California when it happened, and a U.S. District Court judge dismissed the indictment against this illegal alien, saying that his rights had been violated because federal authorities didn't allow his defense attorneys to visit him or speak with him while he was in immigration detention. So if an illegal alien doesn't get to talk to their attorney while they're in detention, that nullifies the fact that they're in the country illegally? Apparently so. In Ontario, California, in October, an immigration agent shot a man in the shoulder as he drove away from federal agents. The man's lawyer said an agent pulled out pepper spray, and the man tried to maneuver his vehicle to get around and was shot through the back passenger window. ICE said that the officer feared for his life and fired defensive shots at the vehicle. Nobody was second-guessing that. In December, just outside of Baltimore, a traffic stop ended with an illegal alien being shot and another injured by ICE agents after the driver of the van drove at the officers, prompting them to open fire. Both the driver and the passenger are expected to recover. And just a little over 2 weeks ago, there was a person shot by ICE in Minnesota. St. Paul, Minnesota to be exact. That's just across the river from Minneapolis. ICE agents were pursuing an illegal alien who tried to flee in a vehicle. The man struck multiple agents as he fled. One agent fired shots. The man was taken into custody. Now, that was just a little over 2 weeks ago when this incident occurred. Now, since it was only 2 weeks ago, everybody remembers how the mayor of St. Paul was incensed at this and cursing on camera about it and telling ICE to get the F out of his city. Remember how next door in Minneapolis, Jacob Frey took a break from kissing the thugs and blues rumps to curse for the cameras and tell ICE to get the F out of the Twin Cities? Anyone remember how Governor Tim Walz took time away from his failing re-election campaign so he could show his outrage for the cameras too? Me neither. Now, there's been multiple incidents where ICE have shot and even killed people, and we didn't see this kind of outrage being shown, but we all know the reason why. Illegal aliens getting shot, well, these are brown people, even if they don't think they're brown. But hey, as long as you're not killing any white people, it's okay. News reports are that there's protests, but understand, ICE has been steadily shooting people since at least last summer and even killed some folks. Where were the protests then? Where was the massive news coverage then? Sure, you can point to the killing being caught on camera and say that that's the reason why this is different, but is that really the reason? Because that Parias individual, he was on camera too at the time he got arrested. And for the shills, plants, and morons out there, I'm not saying that this woman deserved what happened to her. I'm saying that if she was black, you wouldn't be seeing her given all of this understanding or consideration or sympathy. The white authorities, like Jacob Frey, would do what he's been doing for the last few years, boldly taking the side of the thugs in blue, and the white media would be defaming the victim, justifying the killing, and bringing on any cop or lawyer they could find to white-splain why nothing should be done about it. How, well, this is just the messy side of the business. After all, these people, they're highly trained and you can't question the training. It's a training issue. You can't argue with the training. You want to be angry about something, be angry about the training, but this is the training they get. Justine Damond was a white woman shot by a Somalian cop, and the city couldn't wait to give her the biggest payout they'd ever given to a victim of police violence. Meanwhile, the cops routinely murder black citizens under circumstances far more egregious, and the city fought it tooth and claw, and the payouts were far, far less than what that white woman Justine Damond got. And unlike George Floyd or the countless other black victims of police killings, Justine Damond's death wasn't on camera. No cell phone video, no body camera footage, nothing. And yet the white authorities in Minnesota, they were tripping over their shoelaces, treating this like a 5-alarm fire that they had to respond to immediately. Now, why were they so eager to just roll over and they just couldn't wait to do a payout? Why did the white media not smear her like they have every other black person that they talked about? Where was the white police officers union to stick up for Mohammed Noor and to run Justine Damond's name through the mud? We all know the answer to that, and the answer is clear. Only white lives matter. A black person is harmed, they're siding with the cops. A white person is harmed, particularly a white woman, well, the world has to stop spinning and we gotta take action. We gotta get justice here. If this white woman's life mattered, then don't treat her any differently or any more importantly than every other black person who is far more likely to be murdered by law enforcement just for walking down the street. The outrage that we're seeing isn't in response to ICE doing the killing. The outrage that we're seeing is not because this was law enforcement at all. And the outrage is not because this killing was caught on video. It's because of the color of the person who was killed. Full stop. That's it. All these people are doing is playing politics. If they actually want to be about justice, then the next time a black person is killed, which happens on a dang near daily basis, give the exact same response. Have that same energy. Let's see Jacob Frey or the next do-nothing empty suit mayor or governor get in front of the cameras cursing and saying, the cops need to get out of the city. The police union needs to get out. This cop who did this needs to get out. We're not going to stop until we get justice. We want answers. Yeah, go ahead and be all outraged and angry for the black victims. But of course, we all know that's not going to happen. And since nobody is being outraged on behalf of black victims, I'll go ahead and do it. It's not a matter of whether or not you think that this white woman deserves sympathy or support. She's going to get that regardless because she's white. But the same way that the daily body count of black victims of police violence doesn't change what law enforcement is supposed to do, you don't bring an end to any of these racist task forces and these little squads running around murdering people just because they've killed some innocent black folks. We can't put an end to that. I mean, after all, we're going to have law enforcement scared to do their jobs. Well, the same thing goes here. It's unfortunate what happened, but ICE still has to do their job. We can't just pull all the agents off the street just because one sole person got killed. We have to keep this in perspective and understand law enforcement is occasionally messy. Things do go wrong. Bad things do happen. But that's no reason to actually punish anyone or shut down anything. We gotta let them keep on going, business as usual. Nothing stops. That's how it is for black victims of police violence at the hands of the police, sheriff's deputies, and state troopers. Black victims are just told, well, we're not shutting anything down. Y'all just have to go ahead and be dodging gunfire from these racists while we investigate and do nothing. And since that's the circumstances that black people have to live under, well, everybody else better get used to dodging police gunfire too. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors: Saeed Muse, Winfield Scott, Neil Safir, Brian Walton, and Jarvis Murray. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.